chant and the morning bell chant. We're starting with the evening bell chant, which is a chant that I suspect that many of you have never done because it's done solo by whoever the head Dharma teacher is, and you may never have had a chance to do that. It's an ancient chant. It actually probably dates back to no later than the year 1000, and the same thing is true of the morning bell chant. You see, we have the chant itself on the left, and then on the right, we actually have the four great vows. And the point is that there's a lot in common between the evening bell chant and the four great vows. And color-coded the similarities. So you see Bonnet Dan in the evening bell chant, and then you see Bonnet Dan in the four great vows. Likewise, Wan Song Bul in green, and Dojung Sen in yellow. I don't know exactly how this came to be, except that all of the language that is highlighted is really, essential. So we have three of the four great vows, but we don't have the fourth great vow. So Munjong Song is hear bell sound. And Bonnet Dan, so Bonnet, anger and vexation, or that's one way of translating the two words. Dan, cut, so it cuts off all anger and frustration. Hearing the bell sound cuts it off. That's the idea of the language here. And then Jihei Jang, insight and wisdom appear. Bori sang, Bodhi, grows. Jiok, leave the earth prison. Then Chul Sang Ge, transcend the three worlds. Wan Song Bul, vow, attain Buddha, the vow to become Buddha. And Dojung Sang, save the many beings. And then Pajiok Jinon, shatter earth prison, true words. Jinon is commonly used for mantra, and literally it means true words. So we only do the evening bell chant these days once a week on Wednesday night. That's our only evening practice. The four great vows in English we do before every practice. And here they are in Sino-Korean. You can see the original Chinese characters, and then the Korean pronunciation of those characters, which is very similar to the Chinese pronunciation, but not exactly the same. And it can be chanted too. We no longer chant it together. Zen Master Sung Sang used to chant the four great vows in Sino-Korean, as you see them here, at the very end of every large ceremony. And I've taken to doing it at the end of our ceremonies. So let's chant. I don't know if this will work. I guess if you're muted, it will work. Let's see if we can chant together the evening bell chant first, on the left. So, Munjang Sang, Bonnet Dan, Jie Jang, Boi Sang Jiok, Chul Sang Ge, Wan Sang Bu, Do Jung Se, Panjiok, Jinom, Om Garajya Sabha, Jaya Sabaha. Ah. So the mantra at the end is pure sound. Those words, or they're not words, those syllables have no meaning, and that's why there's no translation beneath. The four great vows, as Zen Master Sung Song used to chant them. Jung Se Mu Byan Sowando Bonemu Jin Sowandan Bomun Muriam Sowan Hak Bulto Musang Sowan Song. So this is being recorded. You too can learn how to chant the four great vows in Sino-Korean, and I really encourage you to do so. So any questions about this segment?
I have a question.
Yes.
So it has Jinan being true words,
Yeah.
yet the mantra doesn't have what we would consider words. So is that translation of words
No, it's
pointing to something
it's
else?
a literal translation. Um, I wish it could be translated as true sounds, then there wouldn't be any problem. But the idea is that no meaning is great meaning. I'm sure you've heard language similar to that. Yeah. So words that have meaning are very, very limited. A mantra is not limited by meaning. So you can think of it as pure vibratory energy if you want. But that's a very good question. So thank you. Anything
Dan,
else? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Anything on the origin of the evening bell chant that you can share?
It seems to be about 1,000 years old. I couldn't find any definitive answer to that, but what I did found indicated that sometime very late in the Tang Dynasty, maybe the year 900, which would be at the very end of the Tang Dynasty in China, that would be, the origin. So it's not something that we just made up recently. And there's a very long tradition at any rate, even if the scholarship there is off by a century or two, I don't know. So anything else on the evening bell chant or while we're on it, the four great vows?
So it was created after or purposely following the four great vows.
The language is the same, but you mean the chant was
Yes, the
created
chant was
of the
formed.
four great vows? It certainly shares, some language, but I'm not at all sure which one came first. And I don't think anyone knows exactly how they interrelate. They clearly do. I would suspect that the vows are earlier, and the evening bell chant draws from some of the language in the four great vows. But you notice it's maybe a third of the evening bell chant, or maybe even just a quarter. So I would think that the four great vows are more ancient, and the evening bell chant uses some of the same language, whether drawing from it or it's simply in the atmosphere, language like vow, attain, Buddha, and we would translate that. This is a very literal translation. Maybe vow become Buddha, or vow attain Buddha nature, or something like that.
Our Tuesday night Zen practice always has the evening bell chant.
Oh, good. That makes twice in a week
Yes.
in our mega sangha. I'm glad to hear that. I wish we did translate it more often. And actually, anyone can do the evening bell chant. We usually have the head Dharma teacher do it because the head Dharma teacher is sitting right by the bell. But if you want to learn it and you practice it, it's not difficult. And hey, it's a chance to go solo. You don't get to do that too often as Zen practice. Anything else here?
Is there, and this would be with the morning bell chant as well. Is there any reason why this is the evening bell chant, chanted only in the evening, and the morning bell chant is the morning bell chant and only chanted in the morning? Is there some sort of reason for that?
I can't find any reason in the content at all, really. The Quantum School of Zen has always done it this way. I don't know if other traditions do that. And Zen Master Seung San, he made up our practice, but basing it on traditional Korean practice. But certainly in our temples in Korea, it's done the morning bell chants in the morning, the evening bell chant in the evening. But that may not be the case, in other, Buddhist traditions in Korea. I'm just not sure. Let's see, I thought there was one other point that I wanted to bring up, and now it's escaping me. But this is a good start anyway. I do encourage you to learn how to chant the evening bell chant, even if you think you're not going to be called on to do it very often. You can always do it for yourself. If you do evening practice, at home, then why not start, with the evening bell chant? And the 4 great vows can always be done in Sino-Korean. If you know the Thousand Eyes and Hands Sutra, you might remember that at the very end, the 4 great vows in Korean come. The melody is Jungsang mu byon so wan do, bonne mu jin so wan dan, bomun muriang so wan hak, bulto mu sang so wan song. And then it repeats with jasong, which means self-nature. Jasong jungsang mu byon. And so that's at the very, almost the very end of the Thousand Eyes and Hands Sutra, which we only chant once a week on Wednesday night. So that's all I have on these two chants, and think of the 4 great vows as a chant as well. So the morning bell chant, excuse me. What I'm going to do mostly is simply read from here, invite questions periodically, and maybe riff on it a little myself. So our morning bell chant, Quantum School of Zen, combines 3 major Buddhist traditions: Huayan, Avatamsaka Sutra Buddhism, Pure Land Buddhism, and Zen Buddhism. So Huayan Buddhism is based on the Avatamsaka Sutra, the most comprehensive of all the Mahayana sutras, and one which presents the Bodhisattva ideal of universal liberation in truly cosmic terms. Huayan Buddhism was both a philosophical school and a mass movement within Buddhism in China and Korea. Incidentally, it was Wisong, the great Korean teacher, who in the 600s went to China to study and spent 10 years there. And he's the one who brought Huayan, Avatamsaka Sutra, Buddhism to Korea, and it really, really took off. It just absolutely dominated the scene, and the Buddhist scene in Korea. So that's what this mass movement comes from, the language here. So Pure Land Buddhism is still the most popular form of Buddhism in the world. The central figure in Pure Land Buddhism is Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light. Amita means unmeasured, and the bull is actually cognate with the PHO we have like in photon light. So Amitabha, as the way it comes to be pronounced in Korean. Who eons ago established a Western Pure Land, an ideal environment in which to practice. Sounds a lot like the Kansas Zen Center, right? And get enlightenment. A land open to everyone who chants this Buddha's name. So Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. Original Pure Land Buddhism also involved meditation practice, and in China, around the year 1000, there developed a Pure Land Zen school, kind of merging the two traditions. It was probably about this time, or a little later, that the morning bell chant, or its ancestor, was created. So the chant here is divided into sections to make its structure clear. The translation in italics is freely adapted from an early version used in the Quantum School of Zen. The language of the chant is Chinese, except for the two Sanskrit mantras. The Korean pronunciation of the Chinese words is said to be very similar to the pronunciation of Chinese in the Tang Dynasty. So you can feel that you're in a long, authentic tradition. The literal meaning of each Chinese Korean word, we say Chinese Korean because the pronunciation is, the words are Chinese, the Koreans pronounce it differently from the Chinese. Not much different, but distinctly different actually. As an aid to understanding the meaning and experiencing the chant directly. Of course, all of our chanting book has that feature, and literal translation of each word in very small font, unfortunately. So we tend to use our chants as if they were entirely mantras, that is efficacious only in their very sound. And this practice, perceiving sound, which is what Kwang means, and we are the Kwang school of Zen, the perceive sound school, so we take chanting very seriously. So that can be deepened by learning the meaning of a chant word by word, and I frankly think there's not enough emphasis on this in the Quantum School of Zen, hence this class. So the monosyllabic nature of Chinese words aids this process. So each bullet of sound, each syllable has a complete meaning that can penetrate our consciousness. Can you scroll down, please? So the first part, we're calling the bell Gatha. Gatha is a short poem. So I'm not going to chant each line. I know you all understand that. So we have, this first line, vow this bell sound fills Dharma world, literally. Freely vowing this bell sound spreads through the whole universe. I like Dharma world rather than universe. It's, it's more dharmic, I guess, and less scientific. Iron wall dark, fully all bright. The verb to be or become is understood. So, or here, making all the hell of dark metal right. So it's salvific, from the very beginning. The hell of dark metal, in my imagination, has been like the worst hell imaginable, because it's dark and it's probably hot. So again, kind of a salvific tenor to the chant here. And also in the third line, Samduigo Padosan, 3 ways ease pain, shatter sword mountain. Imagine a mountain studded with swords and you have to, climb to the top. That's another Buddhist hell. So it's actually the 3 realms of suffering. that are shattered. Can we scroll down again? Unless there are any, because we're not quite done with this section. Here we are now, the last. Ilche literally means one cut, and it means all, like kachunk, one cut, all of it. Jung sang, Song Yong-gak, all beings become enlightenment. All many beings attain correct enlightenment. So the chant begins with a gatha, a short poem that connects everyday occurrences in our lives to a bodhisattva vow. Once I showed the Chinese text of the morning bell chant to a monk from Taiwan. He wasn't connected with our school at all. He said that he had learned this gatha when he was young, in exactly the same words as in this chant. But he had never seen the rest of the chant, just the opening gatha. He said he was taught to say the gatha whenever he heard the sound of any bell. So there's some connection that this gatha has to the ringing of a bell. So it's very appropriate at the beginning of the morning bell chant. So the evening bell chant, which we just did, is another such gatha. In the morning bell chant, our vow or intention or wish goes out with the sound of the bell through the whole universe. And that's something you can actually experience. We think of the bell sound as being contained in the Dharma room or maybe just slightly beyond. But imagining the bell sound spreading through the universe, and the vibrations as it goes through the universe shatter the metallic hells that imprison us and perpetuate our suffering. Once these dark realms are broken open, the radiance of the universe pours through, and all beings become enlightened. So the Gatha expresses a vow to save all beings, but it also presents a metaphor for our own practice, the practice of opening our minds, just kind of cracking open that numbskull, that we call our mind. I found that this to be a wonderful image, and especially if you yourself are hitting the bell, that the bell sound, pervades the entire universe and saves all beings. So when you're hitting the bell, or even when you're listening to it, you might call, these lines to mind. Any questions on this section? And let's move on to the next, which is short, and it's Vairochana. And it's simply Namu Biro Gyoju Hua Jang Ja Jon. Namu, we think of it as just sort of a mantra, introductory word. So its meaning, become one, is good to bear in mind that it has a meaning. So become one with Vairochana's name here is shortened to Vivro, which is pronounced Bivro. You'd never guess. And Gyo, Ju, teaching master. Hua, you can recognize as flower. And Jang, so the flower womb. I have a hard time envisioning a flower womb, except maybe this huge bouquet of flowers that serves as gestation for one's spirit. I don't know what's intending here. And Vairochana is love Lord, literally. So become one with Vairochana, the lotus world master, great love, holy one. So Hua really does just mean flower, but here it's translated as lotus. Why, I don't know. So here the chant expresses our unity with Vairochana, the cosmic Buddha who presides over the assembly. In the Huayan Sutra, although he himself never speaks. Numerous wonderful bodhisattvas do all the talking in that sutra. And Vairochana, like Amitabha, was also a Buddha of light. He radiates light like a quasar. And every photon contains countless Buddhas. I don't remember where I got this language. I may have just made it up. He is constantly birthing Buddhas from the flower womb of the universe. That's a really cosmic image. And he is the universe itself. So this primordial Buddha is the Buddha of the Avatamsaka Sutra. And, I think it's going to come up again. This is the Avatamsaka Sutra, 1,600 pages. Judy taught a wonderful class on it, and we have her notes from it, but it's behind a paywall now. It wasn't sponsored. I forget who sponsored it. And I think she is scheduled to teach a class on the Avatamsaka Sutra. Maybe not scheduled yet, but coming up soon, I hope. So any questions on this? When you chant this one line, you would never imagine everything that it entails. And I really do think the chant, studying the chant is really rewarding. And if you can get it in your mind firmly enough, that you have some idea of what each line is, it's, for me, it's been absolutely transformative. Okay, then let's go on to the Avatamsaka Sutra.
I actually have a question.
Have a question? Yes, please.
I couldn't find my unmute. So Namu, that it's translated here as first just Namu, but then become one.
Yeah.
And I always thought Namu was kind of like a, Namu honorific, like a bow with, but they're.
Yeah, it is. Again, I don't remember where I got this translation, but it did come out of the quantum school of Zen. It's one way of, I suppose, understanding. It's usually translated as homage in a context like this. Homage to Vairochana, acknowledging Vairochana. But it seems to be a very flexible word, and I'm glad you brought it up. I think it comes up. It comes up quite a bit in our chants, actually. And it's kind of hard to pin down, this is exactly what it means. The Chinese doesn't help, it's just phonetic. It doesn't give you any insight into the meaning. And sometimes the Chinese, that's all it is. It's just for the sound. So I wish I could help you more on that. I'll let you know if I ever find out more. So then let's go on to the Avatamsaka Sutra, and we'll start with just this page first. So expound treasured poem of golden text. I think we're supposed to envision a manuscript being taken out of this gemstone case, open cornelian case of jade scroll. So, jade, it's a mineral. It's like a stone, a precious stone. So that's what we're opening up here. Treasured poem, golden text, cornelian case, jade scroll. Let's move on. Maybe we can put this in a little more context. And what we find now, after we've opened this jade scroll, taken it out of its cornelian case, is actually the Avatamsaka Sutra. So Jin Jin Hon, if dust mix enter, every dust particle interpenetrates. We would say every atom, perhaps, in the universe interpenetrates, or maybe if you're really into physics, subatomic particles. They all interpenetrate each other. Likewise, every moment of time, moment completely fused. So time and space and all of the matter and energy in space totally interfused. And then we have a very long, very long word here, a very long number. So all of the Shipjo Kumanu Chon Sa Shipal Cha, well, Cha means words, but the rest of that is a number. And it's 100,095,048 words. And I've never counted them, obviously, and in English it's going to be different anyway. But that's a lot of words. So that's the Avatamsaka Sutra, and in the next line it's described as one vehicle, complete teaching. There's all sorts of teaching in the Avatamsaka Sutra, and we can't get into it at all right now, and Judy actually knows more about it than I do. And by the way, if you'd like the notes from her class, let me know. I'm sure she wouldn't mind sending them. And as I said, I think she intends to teach it in our school again. She taught it for, I forget what the venue was when she taught it before. Complete teaching of the one vehicle, in the sense that it's a universal teaching. It comprises all of Dharma and so forth. But let's move on. Scroll down a little. Where are we? Yeah, okay. Namu De Bang Guang Bul Hua Om Gyong. Again, Namu, become one. De means great. Maybe you can see the character above. It's a person saying this big, as a child would do. Great character for great. And so great wide direction Buddha flower adorned sutra. So Hua Om Gyong is the name of the flower adornment sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra. That's Chinese. Avatamsaka is, Sanskrit. So the flower adornment sutra. So we're opening the sutra itself, a golden text on jade scrolls that we take out of a cornelian case, and the opening of the case or unrolling of the scrolls is another metaphor for opening our minds. I've tried to imagine that. Imagine your mind, which is now all tightly rolled together. Imagine it unrolling. Vroom. As soon as the sutra is opened, bam, out comes its fundamental teaching. And I actually looked up the page number in this text where it occurs, and I think it's 462. I'm not sure. But the word that, the line that comes out, Jin Jen Huan I Chao Chao Wo Young, literally dust, mix, enter, moment, completely fuse. So everything completely interpenetrating each other in time and space. How do I put it here? Every particle interpenetrates every other particle. Every moment contains every other moment. The text of the sutra contains millions of words and constitutes the complete teaching of the great wide Buddha, the cosmic Buddha, as identical with that Buddha. Well, are there any questions about this section? Well, as long as it completely blows your mind, that's enough. Let's move down. Thank you. So JLJ just means the first poem. And here it is coming up. Okay, so if one wants fully understand, in other words, if you wish to thoroughly understand the three words, all Buddhas, three worlds, excuse me, all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future should view Dharma nature, world nature, you should view the nature of the universe as being created by mind alone. Il che, yes, that one cut, so only. Il che yushim jo, the shim you can recognize as mind. Can we scroll down a little more? Okay. Pajiok, you know, okay, the earth shatter, prison, true, the mantra of shattering hell. Hell is here represented as an earth prison, and so like you're suffocating underground, and these words crack that wide open. And then we have this mantra. Namuata Shijinam Samyak Samuta Guchinam Om Ajana Baba Jiri Jiri Hum. So from all these millions of words, oh, this is where I found, which can be found on page 452 of the Thomas Cleary translation. That took a little digging, by the way. But fortunately, it was in the first third of the text anyway. So the first of several which will appear in the chant, this poem, is spoken by the Bodhisattva Forest of Awareness, one of the many enlightening beings who speak in the sutra. And it can be found on page 452 in the Shambhala edition. This poem presents another fundamental teaching of Huayan Buddhism. All things are created by mind alone. That is probably a familiar sentence to you. All things are created by mind alone. You might say it's the ultimate in idealism philosophy. Another way of saying this is that everything is made out of consciousness. I like that interpretation. Every particle in the universe is conscious and consists of consciousness. As soon as we get that, hell is shattered. And so the mantra of shattering hell appears next in the chant. The Chinese expression for mantra is literally true words. So a mantra comes from the depths of our human experience, as does a vow. And this mantra in Sanskrit, like most mantras, takes us back to our vow to shatter hell that began the chant at the very beginning. And it concludes this section. The next part of the chant will introduce Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light.
The word hell, is that common in Buddhism?
Yeah, there are hells, all right. This is not the only place it appears. Yeah.
Okay, I always think of that as a Christian invention.
No, I think most cultures and philosophies
Okay.
have some notion of this state of supreme suffering. Some people say, well, this very world is hell, and certainly some aspects of this world are hell. Any other comments or questions? And let's scroll down to the next section. One is vow, so one I vow, Jin Sang Mu Byo Yom, exhaust life, in other words, for my whole life. No other thought. And a freer translation, I vow for my whole life without separate mind. And I think that is the meaning of no other thought. In other words, it's all one mind, and we're not making self and other, so other in that sense. Amitabha, Doksang Su, Amida Buddha, uniquely marked follow. So we're going to only follow Amitabha, the Buddha, with unique marks. And I once knew what those unique marks are, but I haven't refreshed my memory on that. But certainly light is emanating from different parts of Amitabha's body. Shim is mind. And you can see that the character is like a beating heart a little bit. And so the heart was, certainly in some Chinese philosophical understanding, the heart was the mind. So Shim Sangye Oko Guang, mind of minds, always connects to the jewel of wisdom's light. Thought moment, there's that nyom again. Not leave golden form. So moment to moment without leaving this golden form, which is our true nature. And we can scroll down. Ajip Yomju. Yomju is literally thought bead. So amala, what we call amala, Sanskrit word, is a thought beads. We might say meditation beads might be closer. I hold thought beads, Dharma world perceive. So I hold beads, perceiving this world. Hogong Wisong Mumuguan, empty space is string, nothing unstrung. Does anybody understand what physicists mean by string theory? I think it is a meaning somewhat similar to what you can imagine these lines to mean. If somebody wants to look that up, I looked it up once and thought, yeah, that's very cool. There's a connection there, but I really don't remember now. Pyongdung Sana Muhacho Vairochana, which is just Sana here. Before it was Viro, the first part of the name, Viro, and here it's the second part, Sana. So Vairochana is everywhere. Everything is equal. So it's like Vairochana is the universe. Guan Gusobang Amita. So Sobang is the west, the western region. So the western Amita, and Guan is perceive, and Gu is pray or implore. So while perceiving, we are praying. It's I think the word contemplate maybe comes best as a one-word translation of Guan Gu. This stuff is devilishly hard to translate. Anything to say about this? Okay, let's scroll down. Namu Sobang De Gyoju, Namu, become one. Sobang, West Region, great teaching master. Muryang, no limit. Su, long life. Yo is thus come Buddha. So this Buddha lives a very long time. We would say infinitely, infinite time, infinite space. Thus come is in our Dharma language just like this. So we distinguish like this from just like this in Kongan practice. And that's what how it will be expressed in Chinese. Anyway, Namu Amitabha will become one with Amitabha. So after we can scroll down to get the all of the English here, if we can, well, as much as we can. After introducing us to Vairochana, the great cosmic Buddha of the Avatamsaka Sutra, the chant now brings forward another cosmic Buddha, Amitabha, the Buddha who established the Western Pure Land for the benefit of all beings. And there'll be more about the Western Pure Land and Amitabha's vows later in the chant. So Amitabha's name means infinite light. The A is a negative prefix. Mita is measure, so unmeasured, negative prefix. And Ba, again, BHA, like the Greek PHO, so they're Indo-European cognates, light. The name is often shortened to Amita, so Amita Buddha, and sometimes spelled with a D, Amida Buddha. And so Amitabha in Chinese and Korean, the light comes from his urna. You know, have you ever seen this on a statue? This little curl of white hairs between the eyebrows. It's called the jade curl. So it's kind of a third eye, one of the 32 marks of a Buddha. And please don't ask me what the other 31 are. And illuminates the universe. So Amitabha and Vairochana, whose name means shining like the sun, that's Vairochana, have different origins, but it is natural that these two luminous cosmic Buddhas are paired in this chant, or maybe even identified with each other, as they seem to be in this section. And equally noteworthy in this section is the blending of Pure Land teaching. Constant devotion to Amitabha was the basis of practice and liberation, with the Huayan philosophy of emptiness and universal interconnection. Of course, emptiness allows universal interconnection. The mind of minds, which is our ordinary mind, always connects to Amitabha's light. We never leave the golden form of the universe. You can't. Practicing with meditation beads, Yomju, we perceive the Dharma world, the world as it actually is, and recognize that emptiness, a space of no hindrance, connects everything, allows everything to be connected, just as string connects the beads we're holding. When we practice repeating Namo Amitabha, which is the essential practice in Pure Land Buddhism, as we move the beads, each bead corresponds to a yom, also spelled yom and yom, depending of phonetically what comes before it in this section. And scroll, please. So in this way, Pure Land practice and Zen practice are not different. So this section begins with a vow to become one with Amitabha and ends with the practice, the repetition of Namo Amitabha. And you remember where that is when we do that chant, that seven-fold repetition. I've always been struck by Zen Master Sung San's translation as Namu, as become one with. The meaning of the word in Sanskrit is given as pay homage, venerate, praise, but also as take refuge with. And that's where Zen Master Sung San was getting become one with. Understanding it as become one with eliminates the subject-object separation implicit in the other translations. It's not that we go to Amitabha, who then saves us, but that we become Amitabha. And this is the spirit of practice in the morning bell chant. And it will find poetic expression in the verses that begin the next section. Now we have 3 poems, and there's not much to say about these poems. Can we stroll up and we get the first poem? So the blue mountain of many ridges is Buddha's home. The vast blue ocean is the palace of still extinction. Being with all things without hindrance, few can see the red crane's head on the pine tree. I like to read all 3 poems and then say something about them. So can we scroll again? Well, maybe for the first half of this first. So Sandan, you recognize mountain again. So sitting silently in the mountain temple in the quiet night, quiet, quiet, still, still, original nature surely. Why does the western wind, shake the forest? A single cry of the cold weather geese fills the sky. And then those first 2 poems are nature poems, but this is different. This is a great vow. So vowing together with all world beings, together into Buddha's great ocean of vows, or ocean of great vows, to save beings of numberless worlds, you and I, literally self and other, simultaneously attain the way of Buddha. And scroll down a little to the mantra. Each of these poems ends with Namo Amitabha, become one with infinite time, infinite space, Buddha. An edition of the sutra that I found, and in some in a Korean version of the chants is what's being referred to in the section here. We'll come to it soon. So the first two of these three poems, and there are as many as 7 in longer versions of the morning bell chant used in Korea, are in origin Zen poems composed in China sometime around the 11th or 12th century. So that gives us an idea, maybe a better idea, of when the chant is composed. Both poems have a similar structure, moving from an expression of the emptiness and universality of original nature to an acute awareness of this present moment. And the second poem is particularly successful in that it combines in its last line the poignant, just now quality of the cry of geese with our own experience of the vast emptiness of the sky. And I've observed this quite a lot since I first came into contact with this poem. A single bird flying across the sky, and I've seen geese like this and crying. It's a beautiful image and beautiful experience. The absolute and the phenomenal become one. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. We can only attain this by being with all beings without hindrance, as the first poem puts it. And if I can find the other poems that are similar to this, I will share them with everyone. I haven't made any real effort lately, and I don't have any record of where I found it before. The third poem, which is in the form of a vow, continues the theme of profound action in unison, plunging us together with all beings into Amitabha's ocean of vows to use every opportunity to work for universal liberation. And the last line of the poem, which is also, how does this read? Which is also the last line chanted to a different melody of the homage to the three jewels, expresses once more the experience of unity and mutuality in our practice. Self and other, you and I are not separate. We all attain enlightenment together. That's a wonderful notion of Sangha, wonderful understanding of what Sangha really is. So each of the poems is punctuated with a strike of the bell and followed by a repetition of the mantra Namo Amitabha. So homage to Amida Buddha, become one with Amitabha, framing each poem as a little meditation exercise, returning us to actual practice, providing an efficacious moment in which to wake up. So let's go to the next section. So become one with the Western Pure Land, a world of utmost bliss. So Pure Land Buddhism. The 36,119,500 names of the Buddha are all the same name. It's a lot of names. What do you imagine could be, behind this line, and where exactly does this number come from? Well, it comes from the Avatamsaka Sutra, but I haven't looked it up, certainly not lately. So great love, great compassion, Amitabha. And become one with the Western Pure Land. So we're very much into Pure Land Buddhism here. A world of utmost bliss. This Buddha's body is long and wide. In other words, Buddha is, coterminous with the universe. This auspicious face is without boundary. It's infinite. You can think of this line, or I've thought of this line, looking at the night sky, with all of the stars and maybe some planets and maybe the moon. Maybe that's the face of Buddha, and it doesn't have a boundary. And this golden color shines everywhere, pervading the entire universe. 48 vows to save all sentient beings. No one can say, nor say its opposite. No one can say because this Buddha is like the Ganges, innumerable grains of sand, or the infinite moments in all time, or innumerable dust particles. And then I've always liked this: rice, hemp, bamboo, reeds. No limit, extreme number. And scroll down. The 360 billion, 119,500 same name, same meaning. So the names, all of those names, the Buddha are all the same name. And all comes down to great love, great compassion. Our original teacher. In gold form, thus come, Namu. Again, Namu is homage. Amida Buddha, homage to the golden Tathagata. Amida Buddha. Tathagata means thus come. Tatha is thus, and the Gatha is cognate actually with the English word go and gone, or come. And before we talk any more about it, we'll have the concluding mantra. So let's scroll down. Bon Shimi Myo Janon, original mind, sublime, mystic, or mystical, true words. So this is the mantra of original mind sublimity. Om Haridara Sabaha. So the seventh section, and that was long section of the morning bell chant, takes us to the Pure Land that Amitabha established in the West. And you think of the sunset, think of the light of the setting sun and what the western sky looks like just as the sun is setting and right after it sets. And you can imagine that as the Pure Land. So it's actually an image and not just a direction. So one of Amitabha's, let's scroll, vows is that anyone who recites his name sincerely will be reborn in the Pure Land, there to receive his guidance and be prepared for enlightenment. And so Amitabha is our great teacher, the embodiment of great love, great compassion, Deja Devi. Amitabha's Western Pure Land is a spiritual realm, sometimes called a Buddha field, Bulcha in the chant. But note that the same word, cha, in other contexts can be translated as moment. And I think it's the same character too, so that's strange. In the Huayan Sutra, each of the innumerable Buddhas presides over a Buddha field. And all of these Buddha fields interpenetrate each other since they are all coexistent and coextensive with the universe. So you have to imagine different dimensions in the universe, all being separate but all interpenetrating each other. And these fields are as innumerable as the grains of sand in the Ganges, or dust particles, or blades of grass, colorfully expressed here as rice, hemp, bamboo, reeds. In other words, infinite. In the same way, all the various names of the Buddhas expressed by the large numbers, the second of which is inexplicably 10 times larger than the first. In this section of the chant, all reduce to the same name. So Vairochana and Amitabha, the two Buddhas, have met in this chant, and all of the Buddhas are all the same Buddha. So, and all of these Buddhas and Buddha fields are nothing other than our own minds. This deep teaching is driven home in the chant's concluding section, the mantra of original mind sublimity. And this mantra recalls the line earlier in the chant, all things are made by the mind alone. So Zen practice is a deep investigation of the mind. That's one way of putting what we're doing when we're sitting. All things are made by mind alone. As Mun said, Buddhism takes mind as its foundation. The expedient means that Buddhism has developed to bring us to our mind's foundation includes the sutras, poetry, and philosophy that are epitomized in our chanting, especially the morning bell chant. And Zen schools have always used and still use today these expedient means freely and in the spirit of genuine practice to instill the essential teachings of Buddhism into the body minds of practitioners. So that is my take on the morning bell chant. And just going through it the way we have, and how long have we taken to do it? Just a little more than an hour. Is exhausting. Are you exhausted? Are you energized?
I'm hung up on minutia. Who did the English translation of this?
I'm sorry, where are you? Where in the chant are you?
This evening bell chant, morning bell chant, the English translation under the words. Did you do that or did someone else?
I did that. I managed with help to look up all of the Chinese characters.
Yeah. Well, see, so I'm still hung up with the word hell. and
Yeah, there are hell realms in Buddhism.
There are, okay, because I saw it came from Germanic language and maybe the Norse language. And so
Yeah, hell is not a Chinese word, of course not.
right. And so it just jarred me.
The idea, our notion of hell is that there are similarities and differences. So if you're Christian, you have this picture of hell as basically fire, and your soul. When I first taught this, like in the 7th grade, I imagined the soul as being like a fillet of fish that's just been pan fried.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's been in hell. I don't know where this came from. And actually, I'd forgotten it until just now. But yeah, that was a very vivid image for me.
Okay.
And there you can find, if you look up hell in an encyclopedia of Buddhism, you'll find all sorts of hells. It's not that it's imported from Christianity or anything. And I think just as bad as anything in Christianity.
I like the underworld.
Yeah, I kind of like the underworld. I like the Greek mythology underworld. It's not too bad. Yeah, you meet interesting people there.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else besides hell? Yes?
So when we say everything is created by mind alone, we're not talking about Wenda or Stan's mind, thinking mind, or consciousness, right?
It's big mind. It includes thinking mind and consciousness. However, the term collective unconsciousness is, Jungian, I guess. And I'm not referring to that, but I will say, our collective consciousness rather than our collective unconscious. So if you can imagine such a thing as our collective consciousness, which would include the consciousness really of all sentient beings. On this planet, that's all we have. There may be other forms of mind and intelligence in the universe that are more allied simply with forms of energy rather than material brains. And maybe we in some way participate in those. this is sheer speculation on my part. But when we say in the chant, all things are created by the mind alone, I don't think we should form any definite notion of what that means. I think it's better to leave it as something open that you may gradually understand better and better the more you practice. But I certainly have not reached anything like a complete understanding of that, or even one that satisfies me. We work on kongans in the spirit of don't know. This don't know mind. Well, I think there's no better way to get a don't know mind than to really stay with this morning bell chant for a while. Yes, it really it leaves me with don't know, but not giving up either.
Hey Stan, regarding the rhythm, the cadence of the morning bell chant, and I compare it to some of the other chants, which are so fast, you can barely keep up uh, like Thousand Hands and Eyes Sutra, for instance, or something. Anything there about the reason that the cadence is such as it is?
It's what we've inherited. The Quantum School of Zen didn't make this up. I don't know its origins exactly. I don't know how universal it is. I mean, it is in all of Korean Buddhism, pretty much the way we chant it. I like it because it's slower, as you just pointed out. Like try doing the Thousand Eyes and Hand Sutra, and every line means something. But even if you know what they mean, that you're already in the next line. So it's a different kind of challenge. Here we're chanting slowly enough that if you've really studied it and you actually have some idea of the meaning, the literal meaning anyway, of each line, there's a chance of it sinking into some kind of understanding that is really not possible in most of our other chants anyway. The homage to the three jewels is a little slower also. That's interesting. I've never seen it mentioned or discussed, the different paces of our chants, but my sense is that this chant is better slowed down than speeded up. We actually, some syllables are quite prolonged, which I think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of music. And I really encourage you to stay with it. I've said just about everything I can say about the chant in this handout.
Which part was the part that you read at your wedding?
I'm trying to remember. Don't tell Judy I can't remember.
Okay, never mind.
she'll hear the recording now. I will email all of you what it is, and I'm sorry you and I together attain the Buddha way. I'm trying. My problem right now is I can't scroll because Liz is the scroller. But where is that? Jata Ilshi Songbul Do is Jata Ilshi Songbul Do. Together, you and I attain the Buddha way. Those were our wedding vows, but there it is. We stop. Go back up a little. You see, Jata Ilshi Songbul Do. That was the key line, anyway, of our vows. We may have chanted. Scroll up just a little bit. I wonder if we chanted that whole section, Wong Gong. But anyway, the key line is you and I together attain the Buddha way. It makes a good wedding vow. Thank you for reminding me. I'm glad I remembered as much as I did, but don't tell anybody. Anything else? So I would like to ask all of you a question. You don't have to respond, but if you'd like to, please do. Do you think that you're going to study this chant more to the point that you actually understand it as you're chanting it? Now, that's not easy to do. I had to study it for a long time to get to that point. If you have that intention, what I would recommend is doing it a little bit at a time, starting wherever you want. You might as well start at the beginning. Just a few lines that make sense. Chant it to yourself, understanding the meaning, and then what do we chant this 3 times a week. Every time you hear it, okay, I've got that now. And when that's the case, move on to another few lines and give yourself as long as you want, months and months, to memorize it. It's by far my very favorite chant of all that we do.
I was going to ask something similar to that, because I'm thinking when I chant it, I'm not going to remember all of this.
No.
And one of, and so I thought, well, if I read it, if I try to read it several times a week, but then if you're just reading it, is that the same as chanting? Does the chanting give a different, a way of maybe perceiving it, or a way of understanding it that you're not going to get if you just read it?
I don't know if you'd have a different conceptual understanding, but you would have a deeper appreciation of it, and because the melody helps it sink into your consciousness in a way that simple recitation doesn't. So you tend to remember song. Suppose you had to remember the lyrics of a song that you know well, but you had to remember it without looking at the music and without singing it first. It's that would be hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, I began when I started practicing during COVID with you guys, Stan, and we went online and joining every Tuesday and Thursday morning, and I began to absorb. And by the way, the booklet I have, the chanting booklet, which is the one I have here with Lucy, it's not like the Kansas Zen Center, so it doesn't have any of the
interlinear.
Yeah, so, but I've learned it over these last several years without any knowledge of this. I mean, I have seen this before, but really I know it by heart because I practice with you guys so often now in the mornings.
Yeah.
I think that now though, because I know it and the cadence and it's so natural to me to be able to chant it, I think I can do it. I can now spend time like this, understanding it. I can't imagine trying to learn the chant sort of melody wise and the Korean, saying the words, and also underneath that, a third layer, understand the translation of it. Like to try and do that all at the same time would be really hard.
Yeah, but now you have 2/3 of it done, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. I don't know. Many of you have chanted this for a long time. Do you all have it memorized? Anyone have it memorized? Yeah, okay, several of you do, yeah. And you definitely can do that. The more you chant it, but I would say even before you all have it memorized, using a text like this rather than what's in even the chanting book with the interlinear translation, that might be enough. So you really learn what it means if you can keep your eye, because you pretty much know the Korean. You have it there in case you need to, but you can really look what each word means. And it doesn't have to be a fluent English translation. Just a word-for-word translation, I think, is enough for the meaning to penetrate. So I would recommend that, and maybe we can, I don't know how many booklets we have, but we could maybe send your Sangha a few anyway with the interlinear. I'm the guiding teacher there, am I not? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We will send. No problem.
Well, I did. I think Ting or someone sent me a PDF of your interlinear chanting book, which I printed up here.
Oh,
It's
where's
just
it
not
from?
bound in the same way that I have this other one,
Yeah.
but I did as a PDF. I printed it up.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Well, we'll send you some. Your PDF might be better because the font may be larger. You can maybe read it, the interlinear better. Okay. So anything else? We've come an hour.
Hello. Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
I have not started like a formal Zen practice, but I was curious, is there a difference if one would chant this in English?
You're perfectly welcome to chant it in English. You may have to adjust the translation a little, make it say the same thing, but fit the melody a little better. The original was all monosyllabic. Every word is one syllable. That's how Chinese works. I mean, it has compounds sometimes, but every word is one syllable. Where we have words like together, 3 syllables. So it is a little bit of a challenge, but you probably can work something out. If you try that, let me know how it turns out, would you?
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I really do. Yeah, I'm all for learning what the chants mean and understanding what you're chanting. And anyway, you're now equipped to learn how to chant the morning bell chant and the evening bell chant, for that matter. And so I hope you keep going, and please do stay in touch with any questions that may arise after this class. And be glad to help. And Claire, it's nice to see you here and one of your paintings right next to you. It's
Oh, yes. It's good to see you too, Stan.
okay. Anything else then? It's nice that we're all on the screen together at the end. It's definitely a plus. Shall we sign off? Hate to